Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Vern's Misadventures. In this one we're going to pick up where we left off on the Model 4. So I printed this mounting unit. It looks like a 5 1/4 inch floppy drive, and it mounts a Gotek. So if you pick up the little lever that would ordinarily eject the diskette, you can get to the USB. This required gluing the circuit board from my Gotek, and it also required gluing the screen, which I had to flip upside down. But other than that, it was simple plug and play. I replaced the shorter wires that came with the Gotek with some longer jumper wires. So I also mounted an LED, a red LED in the 3D print, and that way it would light up like a normal floppy drive, and it would look more legit when it was accessing or writing to the drive. I have this set to S0, so all that's left now to do is to connect the LED light that I mentioned earlier to the Gotek board. And what we'll do is we'll just clip the existing LED in such a way that we can use the leads as header pins. So I'll use these DuPont jumper cables here, and we'll just connect from the board to the LED that's glued to the case there. So 2 quick clips and the old LEDs out of the way, and we're going to use the remainder of the leads for header pins. This will make it easy to disassemble should we ever want or need to. So the red LED leads are too long. I'm going to trim them back a little bit. And I made the mistake of not noticing which lead was longer or shorter and just clipped them both the same. So now it's kind of a guessing game to figure out which way they go. So if it doesn't work this way, we'll just turn them around. And we can do the switching from the top of the board there. The other part of the equation we'll need is a floppy disk cable. I got this one from Amazon, and it's a universal. So it has the 34-pin connector like you'd connect to a 3.5 inch floppy. And it also has the edge connectors like you'd use for a 5 1/4. So there is a twist on this, which is not going to work with the TRS-80. So in order to use that connector, we would have to untwist the wires. Here's a funny little story. So before, when I tested the drives that came with the machine, I didn't realize that they were upside down. So I connected the floppy cable and tried to read floppy disks. But what's important to note is if the drive was upside down, I would have needed to insert the floppies upside down, which I did not do. So somewhere in the course of this, we're going to also have to retest these 5 1/4 inch floppies, or at least one of them. So I cleaned one of these, but I couldn't remember which one it was. So I looked to find the one that seemed to have the least amount of dust on it. And I think I failed to do that because that doesn't look all that clean from the video. Yeah, so that's got the jumper at S0. Which will work if all we're going to do is test the floppy. So let's go ahead and connect it right quick, and we'll see if this floppy drive works. Due to the orientation of the cable connectors, it's going to require to twist the cable, which is going to make trying to connect both of them to the original cable difficult, if not impossible. So what we'll do is we'll put the end of it there, and we'll just slide it in up top to see, just test to see if it works. Alright, well, this is my goofy shot I was able to come up with. That way we can get the screen and the drive in one frame. So we'll plug the computer in. We'll go ahead and use TRS-DOS 6.2. Okay, so we close it, and look at that, it boots it. So despite our best efforts to fix this keyboard, there's still several keys that don't work. We're going to have to make another plan on fixing this thing to be actually usable. But between the numeric keypad and regular keyboard, well, we get enough numbers where we can put the date in anyway. Look at that, it can read it well. That's nice. So let's try the new DOS-80 disk in there and see if we can load a game. I bought these discs on eBay from Ian Maverick. So these discs will require Model 3 mode, and we should be able to do that by pressing F3 and reset at the same time to force it into Model 3 mode. So how about that, y'all? It works. So we'll try to get the keyboard to cooperate enough to get a directory. Let's try Crusher. Yeah, look at that. So I have never played this game before at the time of the shooting of this video, and so I just kind of fumbled my way through it. And it looks like we're about done here. There we go. Once we get the keyboard working and get the drives figured out, we've got a computer. So, see that dust on the floppy there? That was not ideal. Yeah, I think I might have cleaned the other drive because I had gotten all the dust out of it at one point. I think I had cleaned the other drive, but that's all right. So we'll get this one disconnected and we'll see about plugging in the Gotek, see if it's going to work, and then we'll know at least one drive at a time will work, and then we'll work on getting both to work together. So my original thought was I could use the 34-pin connector like I did on the Model 4P, which you didn't have a floppy disk card on that. You just connected directly to the motherboard. But this one actually has a floppy disk drive card, or controller card. So it's like you got to have a card edge connector at the end of your cable. So that opened a bit of a can of worms. Here I am trying to remove the cable, the card edge cable. What I'm going to end up doing is harvesting this cable end here, this connector, from the original cable and adding it to the Amazon cable. So here's what I did. I removed the original connectors that were at the bottom, and they had a divider that the one on the machine did not have, and of course it didn't have a slot that would work with the divider, so I put the old connector on there so I could connect it to the machine and remove the twist in the process. So what I did was I borrowed the flash drive out of the Model 4P, which is the only other Model 4 series that I have a Gotek in, so I went ahead and borrowed that flash drive just for testing purposes. The display is upside down, which can be adjusted in the ffconfig file later. But for testing purposes, we should be able to get an image loaded, and lo and behold, here it is. I was able to load the disk number 6 that had new DOS-80 on it. You may notice a little gap right here, and I believe this is due to the fact that our drives, which we stacked up here, this release lever is sitting on the case here. So that stack isn't going to work out. I mean, I could try to, I guess I could try to sand down this or file it down to where it doesn't stick up so high. I don't want to do that. I really don't. So I have another idea. And I 3D printed this little guy here. And this is just a case cover. Should be wide enough to cover the hole. And it'll just sit on top of the other drive. We'll kind of line it up best we can, and it'll just sit on top of the other drive and plug the hole. And with that, we should be able to close the case and do all the other fun stuff. Another thing we need to correct is the LED is not working. So we'll have to reverse the wires. I took a guess and I guessed it wrong. So we're going to accomplish those two things for sure. Okay, so we're going to have to lift the top of the case off. And the key to this is you're going to lift up while you look through the drive bay hole. Make sure you're clearing the neck board and the neck itself. And you get it over there and you just lay it on its side. So there's two ways that I see it that people manage to screw this up. One is they don't know and they just start pulling and tugging and they break the CRT. The other way people mess up is they think that they're so experienced that they don't have to be careful anymore, and they get in a hurry and something gets snagged and it's broken. So what you got to do, in my humble opinion, is just treat it as if you're doing it for the first time. You know what to look out for, but you don't have confidence, and you just have to look very carefully as you work. And if you do that every time, odds are you're not going to break the neck of your CRT. Another thing you can do here is see how I've got these wires tied up neatly in their original ties, and also a couple of zip ties are on there as well. But keep all that away so that you don't have any wild wires getting wrapped around the neck board, and that'll help you keep you out of trouble as well. So a couple little tips maybe will help you save your CRT from damage. Sure glad I cleaned the case up real nice before I started spraying this around, huh? Well, it wipes off. So I noticed in some games that I played, I would have some raster lines, and I went to adjust them and I couldn't turn the knob. And I thought, that ain't right. I mean, this thing is smooth as silk now, but it was stiff. You couldn't turn it with just your finger underneath there. See, when you can get a hold of more of the surface, it's not too bad to turn these, but when they're stiff and all you can do is run your finger across the little wheel on the bottom, that's no bueno. Yeah, so we get the screws out of the Gotek so we can get it slid out and reverse the wires on it, on the LED. In this particular unit, the power supply mounts on the motherboard tray. At least that's what I'm calling it. And so all 4 screws are used. If it's got the power supply mounted to the side there, about where the Phillips screwdriver is pointing, then from the factory, that back hole will not be populated. So it should just take 1 screw on this side and 2 on the other to remove the drive. So I had entertained the idea of trying to hook up all 3 drives at one point, but this power supply is not going to have enough amperage to do all that. So, you know, the Gotek and 1 floppy, that's probably about the end of, or the limit for that, and possibly a little bit overtaxed. Originally, this machine was a cassette unit, I believe, so it didn't have any drives, so it just came with the lower amp power supply. Yeah, so we had 1 wire loose. So since 1 was loose, and maybe that's why it didn't work, we'll go ahead and check it again real quick. Yeah, no light, so we're going to switch those wires around. And hook that one there, and we'll try this, see if things are different. Yeah, so I took that drive out of the way
Okay, let's turn this on again and see if we get a light. Oh, it works, it works, it works. Awesome. Very awesome. And then, of course, over here, we got that working too. So, yeah, we can put the screws back in the Gotek now.
Hey, contrast knob loosened up nicely. Okay, so going back to the other, I'm looking through the hole again, the drive hole, and I'm making sure I'm not catching the neck board or the CRT on anything. And yeah, if you get hung up, just come back up where you came from and try again, clearing any obstructions. There we are. So there's the blank piece I 3D printed, put in place. And the gap is closer, but look at the Gotek down there. The upper edge of the drive bay is rubbing against the knob there on the rotary encoder. So probably ideally the way to fix that would be to lower the Gotek in its bay there. And I actually considered doing that. I'd taken a file the notches deeper, and then moving the holes up a little bit. And the more I thought about it, the less I felt like doing it that way, and thought maybe the way to go is to modify the 3D model and reprint one. But we'll get back to that later. So I hooked up the cassette tape interface. I bought one for the Coco, and it seems to work on here. And one of the ways you get sound out of these is you connect one of the wires from the cassette interface to an amplifier or speaker. So I plugged it into the stereo, and well, here's what we got. Sorry about the roller coaster ride I gave you here. I don't know what was going on with that.
I like it.
What cool is that? We could do breakdown, I think. Or does it? I think we can. No, we didn't get a D. There it is. D. W in. Let's try breakdown. Breakdown. I have no idea how to play this game. Let's set these over here. Ah. Oh, it's like breakout. Oh, okay, I see. Pass the ball. Doesn't seem to be any sound. Press space to start. The basics. Let's try disc 2. Alright, loading them up. Locking them in. This one has Sea Dragon and Pac-Man, so we'll do Sea Dragon. Awesome. One player. Skill level better be 0. Oh, press this 0. Oh! Yeah, it's a lot more fun with sound. I played this yesterday, even though the case was all janky.
And it wasn't the same without the sound. Oh, but we did pretty good. Sea Dragon. Now Pac-Man on this is really kind of cool because you got, it's different. I'll just put it that way. So again, yeah, it's just Pac-Man. One or two. Cool, I didn't have a sound before. So you're like zoomed in and it gives you a map over here to kind of get some idea where you're going. I give him an A for effort. If you just had to play Pac-Man on your TRS-80, I'd say this is kind of cool. I wouldn't recommend it as the platform to play this game, but I really like it. Oh, it got me. Awesome. Not bad for a piece of crap that wouldn't even turn on when I bought it, huh? Not too shabby. Hey y'all, well, it's 2025 now. I've been editing this video off and on for months. Been in kind of a funk, haven't really felt like doing much. But I had worked on this, I just hadn't gotten the editing done. I'd like to show you, I'm going to call it the final, but there's always more to do. You know how these things go. So I ended up getting the J. Cruddy keyboard. Here's a feller, lives in the area, he lives in Garland, Texas, and he makes modern replacement keyboards for the Model 3 and the Model 4. Unfortunately, the model of keyboard that he offers is not the inverted T like I had originally. So now I got the split arrows on this thing now. The struggle is real keeping these things dusted and clean, and I've gotten a little behind, so I'm wiping it down real quick. Give you something to look at while I yammer on anyway, huh? So I ended up putting it over here along with next to the pet here, and I got a little speaker from Amazon, and I've got one channel of the stereo speaker, that little stereo speaker I got one channel hooked up to the pet and one channel hooked up to the Model 4. So I can actually use them both at the same time, and they can both make noise at the same time. So that's kind of cool. It's an option I wouldn't have had if I'd used the stereo, because each one had its own independent input. Well, I suppose I could have still kind of hooked it up the same way there. But that's clear across the other side of the room. So the stereo wasn't going to be the best choice for sound on this. I got J. Cruddy's keyboard, and I tell you, the guy's really great to work with. I'll leave a link to his site, his website, where maybe you can order one if you want one. I know he only builds a few at a time, so they may or may not be available at the time of that you might see this video. But if you contact him, he may or may not be able to build you one. So, you know, that's one of them deals with limited production. Zero complaints of the quality of the keyboard. It has the modern, like Cherry MX. I don't know if he used Cherry MX switches or not anymore. I don't remember off the top of my head. It just has a regular little push button for the reset. But it didn't come with the bezel, of course, because that's a separate piece on this style keyboard. Now, the inverted T that I originally had the bezel kind of, it was all part of one part. So I had no bezel for a while. I ended up buying another Model 4, and I took the bezel from it. And if I ever get that Model 4 going, I probably end up swapping the keyboard anyway on the other 4. But if I ever get it going, I'll have to buy a bezel. Apparently there's a place where you can get those reproduction too, more or less. One other thing I did differently. Here, we'll just go ahead and put something on. One other thing I did differently was with the Gotek. I had this originally, I had this mount here as no frills, but it does do the job. And for this case, see how it's mounted in the center here? So this knob no longer interferes with the top of this bay here. And you know, I wish I could have gotten the 5 1/4 looking one to work right, but I really think this was the best choice here, because instead of wasting that 3D printed one that I had or trying to modify it and ended up screwing it up and everything else, I just put it in my K Pro 2. So it looks right at home in the K Pro, and yeah, the case fits nice. Case closes up like it's supposed to. The knob will turn like it's supposed to. All the fun stuff. So what is this? 2, 11, 25. So we'll put 85. You'll probably believe that. Well, about the only thing, I've shown you some games. I've shown you Model 3 mode. I've shown you Model 4 mode. There is one other thing we could try to do before we wrap this up for this project. At least for now. Yeah, it does everything I want it to do. It makes sound. It works great. The keyboard's fantastic. I do wish I still had my inverted T, because I can't play Sea Dragon very well with these split keys. I get too confused, but I guess that's just a matter of some practice and some time put in. Yeah, let's see if we can do boot CPM. Is that it? It's Montezuma. Let's see what happens. Yeah, there it is. CPM 2.2, version 1.32. Yeah, and so let's see. I believe directory works in CPM. But anywho, anyway, if you've stuck with me and this far and watched the series, then here's the payoff. It's the final version, at least for now, of this machine. Yeah, it probably could use a repaint, but trying to match the original silver, and it really doesn't look bad. It just looks its age, to me. I'll probably leave it alone. So this is the aforementioned other Model 4 I have. It needs a CRT, and I put the top from the gray one on this one. Well, not on it, but I set it beside it and plugged the screen in. And not only does it need a CRT, it also has problems with its computer. So it won't start up. So whatever's wrong with that. So far I have put a Console 5 capacitor kit, just because I thought it'd be simpler than trying to get each and every cap spec'd out. So I put a Console 5 capacitor kit in it, and I cleaned up the drives. The stepper motors in the drives are real notchy. I don't think it's going to work. Originally, my plan, like I said when I bought it, was to get the bezel and at least one of the original drives and put it in there so they would have the more appropriate drive in it. But if they're going to be all, notchy and sticky, and yeah, so I could probably pull the stepper motors out and try soaking the bearings in oil. I've had very little success with that, in all honesty, once they're that rough. Another option would be to try to get new bearings or new stepper motors. And that's something we could look into. I'm honestly thinking about maybe selling this unit. But, well, we'll see. It's really, I don't have a good place to put it right now. I've considered putting in a shelf above these two here, above the Pet and the other Model 4. Put a shelf up here just for storage. then I could haul it over to the desk whenever I wanted to use it, I suppose. So we'll see where that goes. I haven't completely ruled that out. Although I do kind of like the open feel without it being covered by any shelves or anything. So I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to mess that up to do that. At any rate, I want to thank you all for watching the series, for watching the videos. Thanks for sticking with me. I'm sorry I haven't been uploading. Life kind of gets in the way sometimes. But at any rate, this will finish up this machine, and perhaps we can move on to something else. We still got this here Commodore 64, the printer, and a 1541 drive that we can mess with. I've never done anything with any of those. I've got this laptop here, compact laptop. It's at the top of my compact stack, right? And what else do I have? I think I have another machine or two that we've never touched. So we have other things to do. Money's been tight, and that's been kind of a killer to my ambition, to be honest. But I'm hoping I can snap out of this and get back into the flow of enjoying life and working on my old computers and sharing them with y'all. So, hey, thanks for watching the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Y'all take care.